to another edition of Forever Young. We've got an exciting show for you today. Today, we've got something that's really important for everybody, for all ages. So there may be some information today that we share that may be for you, or some that you might want to pass on to your friends, your children, or your grandchildren. We're talking about finance. You know what? They says there's no romance without finance, and there's no comfort without finance too. And the biggest thing that seniors are always challenging with is living on a fixed income. And so some people work for 20, 25, 30 years. Some get the gold watch, and some don't even get the watch because it comes to planning. So we've got some great guests for you today. But before we get to that, I'm always delighted to be in the company of two lovely ladies. Actually, it's three today because one of our guests is a lady, but the standard beautiful women who are always at my side. First of all, Dr. Sharon Mitchell, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, David. Always a pleasure to be part of this platform. Great seeing you again.
Good seeing you as well. And then, of course, the one and only Miss Jean Hendricks. She is the spark plug for this show, and we are always delighted to be in her presence. Good afternoon, Jean. How are you today?
I am well, David, and as always, I'm delighted to be in your presence and also Dr. Mitchell's presence. I'm delighted. Thank you so much for allowing me this path once again. Back to you.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Glover.
All right. How's everybody? Well, I'm so excited. First of all, I'd like to thank God for giving me an opportunity to be able to share this great information. A lot of time we be so spiritual up and, no earthly nothing. So what we want to do is we want to convey some information so we can show you how to not just go to heavens, but how to live heavens on earth. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to give y'all a lot of good information. And I thank God, David. I want to give y'all a hope. And the hope I want to give you all today, don't worry about your circumstance. Don't worry about your present, okay? Don't try to make excuses. I always say you can make money or you can make excuses, but you can't make both, right? And I look at why did God use me, Dr. Mitchell? Why? Let me tell y'all a little about Donnie Glover. I came up in a 2-room garage. Well, I say a garage, 2-room house. And we moved to the projects like moving to Beverly Hills. And I always wanted to get my mom out of their so-called hood. And I said, Mama, one day I'm going to get you out the hood and I'm going to be rich. And she just started laughing. She said, shut up, boy. Is that amazing? And I'm my mother today. I am her long-term care. By the way, I got a PhD, public high school diploma. It ain't logical for Donnie Glover to be a millionaire today. But you know what? Jesus was born in a manger, but he didn't stay there. Is that amazing? Mm-hmm. I went to UC, University of Coca-Cola. But guess what? I'm saying that to say this. What are your excuses? The best thing happened in my life, Chris, wasn't when I had a contract with this company. It's when I gave my life to Christ. The next best thing, when I met my beautiful wife, God said, when you find out the wife, you find a good thing and they give you favor. So I'm operating off her faith. Is that amazing? Thank God for my pastor. Oh my God, what a great guy. Pastor E. Smith and the First Lady and Deacon Linton. Dr. Mitchell, you've been a blessing to me and Marion. I mean, I've been missing church because I've been missing Dr. Mitchell. Ain't that something? And we talk about it all the time, I said, I want to go back to church. I miss Dr. Mitchell. Ain't that amazing? And Jean Hendricks, I got to start spending some time with you like we do with Dr. Mitchell. So we're going to put you on our priority list. Okay? So I bring it back to you. Whatever you need from me, I'm here. Hey, thank God for Chris Mack, one of the great guys that sold into me. I learned so much from this guy. I'm just ready to take notes from Chris right now and to share them. Thank God for you. Ain't been around with us long, but she already started teaching. Ain't that amazing? How some people comes in and so much. So we in for a treat. We want everybody to just open your mind, and I promise you, your life won't be the same. David, I bring it back to you.
All right. You're about to be the host. How you doing? Because he alluded to them, so let me introduce the other two guests that we got. First of all, with Donnie, as he alluded to, as a guest of his, Chris Mackey. He is the Divisional Vice President of AIG. He's a 15-year professional specializing in retirement. And, you know, AIG is one of those big companies. They manage over $525 billion in retirement total assets. He's a provider. He's the number one. They're the number one provider of retirement. So I think that's somebody that you would want to hear about. So we would just want to say welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, actually. I love getting a chance to, to speak with my community, and hopefully you guys will get something out of the conversation today. But thank you for having me.
All right. And then the other person is Shannon Dixon. Shannon is no stranger to many of you who watched Hope TV, because she also hosts one of our shows with the Social Justice Ministry. She is a ball fire. She is an inspiring person. She's just great to be around, very energetic, and she's a no-nonsense lady. Now, you got some nonsense, but you don't bring it around here. But she, that beautiful smile is just, it's infectious. She's got an infectious smile, and we just want to welcome you to the program, DeShannon.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for having me. I kind of feel some kind of way because I've only celebrated the 9th anniversary of my 40th birthday. And I think y'all said this was 50 and above. I'm just kidding. I'm glad to be here, add a little bit of value, and tell you what I do as part of this team. So thank you for having me, guys.
Again, today we're talking about financing. All three of our guests are experts and have experience in that area, and we're not going to delay it. But before we get started any further, every week, as you know, Gene always has a poem or something that kind of sets the tone about where we're going and for the subject today. So Gene, at this time, what pearl do you have with us this week?
Yes, I have some quotes from various people, and I'd like to begin with an author by the name of William Ward. He says, "Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you invest, investigate. Before you criticize, wait. Before you pray, forgive. Before you quit, try. Before you retire, save. Before you die, give." Another one says by and Ayn Rand. He says, "Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it will not replace you as the driver." Another author by the name of Warren Buffett says, "Only buy something that you would be perfectly happy to hold if the market shuts down for 10 years. One more. The person who does not know where his next dollar is coming from usually doesn't know where his last dollar went." And that author is unknown. And this is my very, very special one. It says, "Money can't buy happiness, but somehow, it's much more comfortable to cry in a Lamborghini than on a bicycle." Back to you, David.
I like that one, Gene. All of those are really great. And it's true. She said there's so much wisdom that she said in those things. It's like it can buy happiness. But there, and you know, some of the people that she quoted, you know, some of those people were, you know, they made money. Donnie, I want to come to you because your story is unique, and I think, you know, we're going to try to put it in a small segment.
Let me tell y'all a little about Donnie Glover, my story. Guys, I want to let you know success don't care about your color. Success don't care about where you're from. Thank God for education, but success don't care about that. It only care about a mindset. Okay? So life is about change. You're going to deal with two things in life. You're going to deal with the pain of change, or you're going to deal with the pain of regret. One day, David, I was delivering Coca-Cola, and somebody talked to me about joining this company. And he asked me, was I making all the money I was making, Dr. Mitchell? And I asked him, do I look like it? Is that amazing? And you know what? He came to my house and he gave me and my wife some education on how money worked. And I was so devastated on what I had. I said, man, I could do that. It only took you 45 minutes. And I said, can I ask a nosy question? How much did you make teaching me this? And he told me a figure, and it blew me away. And he invited me to a meeting, Jamie.
Mhm.
And my wife told me not to do it. She said, you always falling for something, because I got that A personality. And you know what?
Mhm.
I said, I'm tired of you getting up, going to work to try to help me pay my bills, and I'm spending 80% of my time away from you. So, guys, I came into the company, and I tell you what, our life ain't been the same. Now I spend 95% of my time with my beautiful wife just because of change. Is that amazing? I came, y'all heard what I was kind of a little ahead of myself. So we came up in that 2-room house. I could never remember complaining. Mama told me to go to school and get an education, and I didn't want to go to school, not because school was bad, because my sister got a real PhD and her husband got a law degree. But after me making more in 4 months, they made the whole year together. I said, you know what? Maybe I need to do something different so I can help my family. I want to be the go-to guy. But then I started reading up on Henry Ford. You know what I found out about that guy? No grade school. I said, at least I beat Henry Ford. And I said, what's the key to that? You know what's the key to that, guys? He's a genius at his thinking. And I've been reading this book, David, The Law of the Thinking. Is that amazing? And it's by E. Bernard Jordan. It don't say the law of the overtime. It don't say the law of the good looking. I see so many good looking broke people. Is that amazing? It don't say the law of the education. It don't say the law of the black and white. It's your thinking, guys. We want to deal with your mindset today. And that's why I couldn't understand, Dr. Mitchell, why did God use out of 6 boys and 1 girl, why did God use me? But you know what I find out about God? He's a gentleman. He won't violate where you at. If you want to be poor, hey, God would love you being poor. I got tired of God loving me on that Coca-Cola truck. Is that amazing? I said, and then when I came back and started reading the Bible, and let me know, David, when I started coming back reading the Bible, he said, all you'll get is get understanding. And I got a lot of getting it because I was always at church, Bible study, but I was still broke. But once I got understanding, I came that we should have life and have it more abundantly. That simply means that he didn't send his only son just for Donnie and Mary to go to heavens. It's about heavens on earth. But you know the sweet thing about that? We could give God the glory. So that's just one part of my segment right there, David.
One of the reasons, Donnie's story is so important and vital because he did have a change. He said something about your mindset. And one of the things, there's 2 things he said. We don't learn how money works. And that's a key factor. And so in this segment, we want to be talking about investment in the retirement, and that's the key thing about learning how money works.
Since our audience is basically over 50, is it too late now for someone, I'm forever young, but I am over 50. Is it too late for me, if I want to take this personally, to begin to think in terms of opportunity for financial wealth?
That's a good question, Jane. Never too late. I'm 66 years old. I'm reading that book. It don't say the law of age. It's never too late. And can you imagine a great person like Jane understanding how money works and being able to convey that message to her friends and her relatives? And it's never too late, Jane. Matter of fact, this is right on time for you. And guess what?
Okay.
We'll train and teach you. And in about 30 days, Gina will be up training and teaching. That's what this is all about. One thing about it don't care about age. It don't care about your color. It just don't care. So it's never too late. Okay?
Right. Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, one thing we want to say, whatever we share with you today, especially for Chris, these broad things you're supposed to check with your own financial experts, but we're just going to give you some broad principles to talk about. Obviously, you'll be able to, and if you want to get any more in depth, reach out to Mr. Glover, will be the point of contact, and he can steer you to the right person or persons, because we want to make sure we stay within federal regulations, because everybody here is licensed. We have federal licenses, so we have to make sure we're sharing the right information in the right way so that we do not, because I'm also licensed. Full disclosure, I am a part of Glover's team. I'm also a licensed professional too in the field. So again, I just wanted to say that so that everybody feels comfortable and we understand where we're going. But Chris, investment and planning and retirement, with you being with the company that you are, AIG, give us some what you can tell about investing, especially for people like to follow up what Gene said. Is it too late when you're over 50? Feel free to speak.
You bet. It's never too late, right? Never too late. Never too late. Um,
Mhm.
well, of course, everybody, thank you for having me for one, and I'll I guess approach your question in this way. I'm definitely a big fan of planning, right? Um, Simply because I just totally believe that, unfortunately, as a people, we really don't plan enough, and
Mhm.
I feel like if we were to
True.
plan a little bit more,
Mhm.
we can accomplish literally anything, right? Financially related.
Mhm.
So with that said, I see retirement planning no different really from taking a trip, right? There's three things that you need to know about taking a trip. You need to know, one, where you're going.
Okay. Mhm.
Two, of course, where you are, and how will you get there. It's really just that simple. So when I say you need to know where you're going, you need to, in a sense, have an idea of the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement, right? And put some numbers to it. You need to be realistic about how much you actually want to be able to spend in retirement. The next thing that I always point out is where you stand. Where are you now? So taking basically an inventory of how much money you have saved and how much money you can realistically save. Also looking at, maybe what expenses can you reduce, and, maybe taking a look at ways of making some more money. All these things are considerations. And then as far as getting there, right, there are different vehicles that you could take to get from where you are to where you
Mhm.
want to go.
Mhm.
So it's funny. Miss Jean she gave a saying about money as a tool, and it will take you where you want to go, but you have to drive. I thought that was
Mhm.
so timely. That's the perfect
Yes.
statement, because really money is
Mhm.
is really more like a vehicle, right? And
Mhm.
you definitely have to know how to use it to get to where you want to go. So those different vehicles could be like different investments that you actually use. So like if you were going to take a trip to, let's say, the Bahamas, realistically, a plane is not going to pick you up from your front door and drop you off at the beach. That's not going to happen.
Mhm.
You have to change
Mhm.
vehicles. You have to get in your car, get to the airport, take the
Mhm.
airplane, right? Maybe you have to take a boat, who
Mhm.
knows, right? But you have to use different vehicles. And I think the number one thing that I've seen as a mistake is that my 50 and older crowd, they tend not to change up their investments.
Right.
So, and I'm going somewhere
Mhm.
with it. I went the long way, but I'm
Yeah.
going somewhere.
Yeah, you stepping
So,
on my toes.
so So the reality is that oftentimes when we start our job, we pick investments or somebody helps us to pick them, and then we never change them. We just keep putting money in, right?
Mhm.
All these years. And
Mhm.
usually when we first start at a job, we're usually picking investments that are pretty much on the aggressive side. And rightfully so. That's okay, right? It's okay to be aggressive when you're in your earlier employment years. But typically once you get past the age of 50, you are now getting very close
Mhm.
to your destination, and you need to slow down just a little bit, right? You don't want to just basically blow right into it and be too aggressive. Taking on large losses in your portfolio can be a problem, especially if it's happening right before retirement. You'll end up running out of money way too
Mhm.
quickly in retirement. So, one of the things that I always like to point out to everybody is that typically once you are over the age of 50, that's kind of your time to really take an inventory of what investments you actually are invested in. And then maybe it is time to shift and change those investments to, ones that may be,
Mhm.
a little bit more protective. So those are all considerations basically once you go past the age of 50. So to kind of wrap up, I guess my example there, my analogy, is that literally when you are planning for retirement, you really do have to be realistic about where you are, right? How much money have you saved? How much money can you save? Where can you cut
Mhm.
expenses? Where can you increase your income? These are all considerations right now for where you are. And then as far as where you're going to, be realistic, right? I'm one of those people that goes, if you want to, go to the Bahamas, but you have, Motel 8 money, maybe the Bahamas is, a little too far,
Mhm.
right? And I'm
Yeah.
just kidding, right? But being a little realistic, right? And making sure you live within your means, right? That's really what I'm getting at, because you don't want to run out of money prematurely. No one wants to go back to work in their 70s and 80s. That's not the way to live. So realistically, I think that kind of wraps it a little bit. Know where you are, know where you want to go realistically, and utilize money as a vehicle to help you to get there. And one of the ways that you can do all of those things is by working with a sound, trustworthy financial professional. And I got to admit, I work with some great people. Donnie Glover, Mr. Glover does a fantastic job. Shameless plug for Mr. Glover, but he's a fantastic resource. I've watched him work with his clients, and he doesn't hesitate to give me a call, and I help him to work out his strategies for his clients, and he utilizes every resource that he possibly can to make sure that he takes care of people. So with that said, I'll yield my answer to that question. I went the long way, but I was going somewhere with it, David.
That's
Well,
good.
we got there. We got there.
Yes.
You know,
Got
Yes.
it.
thank you so much for that. Now you're now a part of this. You became a part of Donnie's team. So
Mhm.
share us a little bit from your perspective.
Yeah, you bet. So first and foremost, I work for a totally different company than Mr.
Okay.
Glover.
Oh,
Yeah, Mr. Glover is with, of course, Primerica Financial Services, and I'm with AIG, and we're actually business partners in a sense, right? So I'm one of the resources that Donnie has access to, and we'll put both our heads together to figure out what's the best way to help this client achieve the goal and get to the destination that they want to get to. From that standpoint, that's our relationship. That's how we partner. And then as far as insurance is concerned, life insurance is used in a number of different ways. So first and foremost, life insurance provides protection actually for the family should something happen to a breadwinner. So that's the first way that it's actually used. A second way that you see life insurance being used is really for estate planning. Usually, life insurance provides the family, of course, with some type of assets to pass on to the next generation. And typically, you're passing it in a tax free fashion. And that's very different from what you see some people do today when they don't plan out their estate. And usually what you'll find is that people are passing along their 401ks, their 403bs, their traditional IRAs, which I hate to say this, but it has to be about the worst money that you can leave to a beneficiary because it's 100% taxable, oftentimes, and it creates a very large tax bill for them. So as it pertains to estate planning, it usually makes a little bit more sense to use a life insurance policy to leave that money to a beneficiary tax free, as opposed to leaving like a very large taxable amount of money. Keep in mind, in our community, unfortunately we don't necessarily think ahead on the estate planning all the time. So I think we would all benefit if we kind of put that hat on a little bit and thought about how can we kind of leave the next generation in a better situation. And that's one of the ways that you can do it.
okay.
Yeah.
I know,
So
Sharon,
David,
you had a question. Go ahead.
yeah, so I want to pose a question to the Shannon since she's a licensed insurance agent. Can I really afford life insurance as an older adult, over 50?
Well, obviously, it's a lot less expensive the younger you are, and a lot of times people don't know. The gentleman was saying from AIG, have I invested well? And so when I begin to look at my options, when I'm trying to get their life together spiritually, their career together, finances, I knew I needed my securities license. I knew I needed to start in life insurance. You know, things get into your medical history. And by trade, I'm a healthcare executive. Once you get that diagnosis, it is in your medical history. And so that makes the difference. Once they look at your life insurance policy, they're going to look at your health and making that determination. So I am in this so that I can make some good decisions for my clients that I have. And maybe life insurance isn't affordable because of some health challenges. So yes, life insurance is still obtainable. It may not be as less or as affordable as somebody in their 20s, but absolutely.
So true. Gene, I think you had a question for Donnie.
Yes, I was going to ask her to explain. Perhaps some of our people might be watching it, maybe want to know the difference between whole life insurance and term life insurance.
Term life insurance is what it says for a term. But as we educate, I always tell people, we teach on the theory of decreasing responsibility. And how it works is, in the early years, you need a lot of coverage. Why? Because of your responsibility. Young children's, high debts, house mortgage, loss of income, you'll be devastated. So I could never understand why my dad died and left us all broke. Well, somebody sold him whole life when he should have had term. Where he had 15,000, he could have had 250,000. And I always tell people, Chris kind of touched on it, you don't buy life insurance for savings. You buy it for protection only. When you buy term insurance, you buy pure protection. And whole life is overpriced 500% for one reason. You got savings in there called cash values, but look how the savings work. The first 2 or 3 years, all of it zero. And after the third and fourth year, it start building up, but you got to borrow from your money. Can you imagine borrowing from your own money? That's pretty sad. If you die early, the family broke because it's overpriced 500%. But when the savings start building up, if you want it, you got to borrow it. That's how whole life works. But you know the sad thing about it? If you die, they pay the death benefit, but all your savings goes back to the life insurance company. And that's how we try to teach. Would you want to leave that savings to your family or leave it to the life insurance company? And that what we always say, buy life insurance for protection only. So if something happened in the early years, your responsibility is taken care of. I call it love insurance. You determine how much a man or woman, how much they want to leave each other, right? And I always tell my wife, pay for the life insurance before you pay the house note. We lose the house, sweetie, we can go back to the projects. They don't do no credit score. But how about if I don't make it back, Miss Jean? What is my wife going to do? But you know, that's the difference. Term is so much inexpensive. And as we go through an education approach, we try to get people out the life insurance business. Because as you get older, you need money. You need to enjoy life. So we want to protect you if you die early.
Absolutely.
And if you live, okay?
Right. Great.
You know,
Thank you.
that was a great question, Gene, because again, the key is it's income protection. So I'm saying this to say, this is great information for you, our Forever Young crew, to share with your children and your grandchildren so that they can start now. Knowledge is power. Now, and there's another thing that Donnie, now, one thing about seniors, you know, people retire and then after they look forward to retirement. I'm going to retire. I'm not going to do nothing. Then after they retire, they look for, they get tired of looking at TV. They've done all they can do. Then they want to do something else. Can a senior looking for extra income, can they find some work with you and your team?
Good question, David. Yes, they can. Because basically what we do, we go on an education approach. And we'll teach them how to exercise that brain. You know, a lot of times when people retire, it goes down because they has nothing else to do. Well, guess what? Share with you how to work from home. And guess what? We will share with you how to be the boss. See, you the employee. If I recruited Gene, hired Gene today, Gene become the employer, and I am the employee. Gene, it's how you want me to work is how you gonna come out. Okay? All you gotta do is go back to that mindset. If you change that mindset, and guess what? It's almost like what David said. It's exercising that brain. You getting up
Right.
doing and you're making a difference. Ain't this amazing?
Right.
You make a difference
Yes.
to somebody. About people look like us. We was taught to work our money. We was taught to work how money work, but nobody never taught us how to make the money work for us. We die early.
Right.
The family broke. I'm to my dad. We retired and got to go back to work. It's a lose-lose situation, but it comes back to what David said. Money answers all things. That's right.
Yeah.
And if we don't teach
Right.
it, it's pretty sad.
Mhm.
You can't
Well, you know,
convince me
Donnie,
that yes.
no, I didn't want to cut you off, but I was, you know, we're about, you know, the thing about this, they only give us 30 minutes, and this show is so valuable and so important.
Yeah.
We're going to ask you and just Channing and Chris. I know you have some other obligations, but if Chris, we thank you so much for being here today. I mean, what you've imparted is just invaluable information. But
Yes.
Donnie and DeShannon, we lean on our people who are members of our church, Chris. So we're gonna ask you guys
Yes.
to come back for a part 2 of this, because this is so valuable. We really want to get into the life insurance
Yes.
policy. So again, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because, you know, when we talked prior to you coming on, you were zipping in and out of meetings and doing things and helping so many people, Chris. So for you to take this time out for us, we can't even tell you thank you so much for doing that. Shannon,
Thank you.
we thank you for being here and sharing. And I know in the next segment, you'll be able to give some more information. And Donnie, you know, anytime we're in your presence and get a chance to tap into your mindset, it's just amazing. And I'm with you,
Yes.
and I talk to you on a regular basis. Donnie always says something: freedom is not when you ride in the front of the bus, but freedom is when you own the bus. And so we're going to try to show people how to own some
Very
buses.
good.
I've enjoyed all 3 of our guests today. I've learned something myself. I'm looking forward to our next session. Thank all 3 of you for being with us today. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I like to
Derek?
certainly echo the same sentiments. This has been very educational and enlightening. And we are so grateful that we have the opportunity to share and to learn as we bring guests like you all on. So thank you for being part of this segment. And I look forward to the next segment.
Amen.
Okay. So once again, on behalf of our producer and our executive producer, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr. in the House of Hope, who've had the mind and to come up with Hope TV to help us get through this pandemic by feeding our minds. We are a church that not only believes in feeding you spiritually, but also feeding you intellectually. And because you can have a little bit of heaven on earth if you know the information. So once again, we thank you so much for being a part of this show today. And so until the next time, remember, you're forever young, because age ain't nothing but a number. God bless, and we'll see you next time.
God bless.
Bye-bye.